Furious world leaders have turned their backs on Donald Trump in the United States, and they are proclaiming publicly that the era of America leading the world is over. You have Prime Minister Carney of Canada posting the other day a photo with Wang Yi, the foreign minister of China. Carney posts, Canada and China are building a more stable and constructive partnership. Building on the progress made during my visit to China earlier this year, Minister Wang Yi and I focused on creating new opportunities and greater prosperity on both sides of the Pacific. That meeting took place just 24 hours after Carney went to the Economic Club of New York and delivered a powerful speech calling out Donald Trump's behavior and saying that a strong and powerful Canada is here and America better be ready for it. Prime Minister Carney also posting about his call with Pope Leo XIV, talking about a message of unity and compassion and hope. Prime Minister Carney doing that, whereas Donald Trump at the same time was posting attacks yet again on Pope Leo XIV. Donald Trump posted, someone should explain to the Pope that the mayor of Chicago is useless and that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And while Donald Trump is making posts like this one, where it's some weird AI image of him dunking over the governor of New York, Governor Hochul, who's now a very popular governor in New York, I might add. You have Prime Minister Carney always talking about improving his relationship with his premiers throughout the various provinces in Canada. You have the foreign minister of Oman and the foreign minister of Iran posting photos together. Foreign Minister Araghchi talks about the very productive call and meeting with the foreign minister of Oman, expressing Iran's solidarity with Oman in the face of any threat. The threat being discussed was Donald Trump earlier in the week saying that he would blow up all of Oman if Oman asserted its sovereignty regarding the Strait of Hormuz and entered into any deals with Iran. It's just notable to see a foreign minister of Iran speaking as a real, not just regional power, but dominant power in the world, saying, oh, the United States is threatening you. We got your back, Oman. And so while Iran's foreign minister is posting very strategically about this meeting with the foreign minister of Oman, Donald Trump is posting weird AI images of himself and Tom Brady. And it says, GOAT, Tom Brady is a great player and great guy. What's the intentionality of why are you posting this? Look, you're not supposed to be a troll. You're supposed to be the president of the United States. Behave like an adult and behave like a leader. And folks, these meetings are turning into tangible results that are leaving the United States in the dust. I mean, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, other American companies are really suffering as a result of Donald Trump's behavior here. La Presse out of Canada, they're reporting that Prime Minister Carney is likely to go with 30 F-35s and 60 Gripens out of Sweden. The announcement is expected to be around or after the United States midterms. So what this would mean is that Canada would slash its F-35 orders from Lockheed from 88 to just 30. They've already ordered, I think, like 18, right? So it's just 12 more when Canada was supposed to buy 88 F-35s. But when Donald Trump started talking about kill switches on weapons and Donald Trump showing that he would not provide the servicing and equipment and replacement parts that are needed in deals like this. And so Prime Minister Carney said, look, we're going to do a review of whether the F-35 right now is in our interest as Canada. And it seems that Carney's been saying, you know what, it really isn't. I mean, there's a lot of arguments in favor of the F-35 for all of the kind of weapons geeks out there and fire and plane geeks out there. The F-35 is an incredible plane. The Gripen is also a very, very good plane, and how it operates in kind of Nordic areas and in modern day war zones, though, maybe all you need, anyway. And it's a great plane, the Gripen. And we're seeing Canada also, Canada has the Bombardier jet that's Canadian. I mean, they've worked with GlobalEye, another Saab product as well. And there was an announcement too that Canada would not be going with the US AWACS, those big surveillance airplanes. There was the E3 Sentry, the E7 is the step up from the E3. Everybody thought Canada would go with the E7 and the United States, and no, they went with the GlobalEye. Same thing with NATO. NATO passed over the United States E7, which is a Boeing product, and then instead they went with the Saab GlobalEye. And now Sweden's also saying to Canada, let's build manufacturing plants in Canada. Let's help with Canadian jobs. Let's do Bombardier GlobalEye JVs together. Let's do Bombardier Gripen projects together. And you see how, these countries are forming alliances while the United States is pushing everybody away. I mean, you look at France and Sweden, right? Sweden chose Naval Group's Defense and Intervention frigate to modernize its navy from France. And Macron recently talked about how he thanks Sweden and recognizes the trust that it places in France. So France equipped itself with Saab's GlobalEye to renew its fleet of AWAC radar aircraft as a major strategic decision. And then the partnership went both ways, right? France gets the GlobalEye. Sweden gets the Naval Group's frigates. Sweden bought 4 French FDI class frigates from Naval Group for $4.25 billion. It's the biggest defense purchase since the 1980s. This would be a purchase that would otherwise go to the United States. And so again, this is how deals are done. Deals aren't done by just saying, we're going to do a deal. Let's keep talking about deal. You want to do a deal? I'm going to do a deal. You're going to do a deal. I mean, look at what they're doing in South Korea. South Korea talking about how it needs to be much more self-reliant on its own nuclear-powered submarines. You have South Korea talking with Australia, South Korea talking with Canada about submarine production, again, moving away from the United States there. You have Nordic countries strengthening its defense alliances along with Canada as well. Canada deepening its Nordic ties, expanding Arctic defense cooperation. Denmark, Finland, Norway, Sweden, Iceland, plus parts of to support Greenland as the United States continues to threaten Greenland. What I thought was notable, even these far right-wing parties that were once kind of the corollaries to MAGA in different countries, even they now have to realize, and they're realizing, we need to stand up to Donald Trump. I mean, these are kind of hyper-nationalistic far right-wing parties, so it doesn't make sense to let Trump roll all over them. So, I'm thinking about France, for example. Their far-right leader, Jordan Bardella over there, is putting out statements like this. I mean, this is the guy who's like their MAGA over there. I see an American president who changes his mind regularly. With Trump, what is true on Monday is not necessarily true on Tuesday. France must be an ally of the United States, but not a subordinate one. If the United States enters a conflict that does not serve French interests, France has no reason to join the conflict. Before asking France to extend its nuclear umbrella, our European partners must stop buying F-35 and start buying the French Rafales instead. And we are seeing a lot of the French Rafale purchases throughout Europe over the F-35s or the F-15s or other American planes. And again, we reported earlier this week as well that France and the UK extending its nuclear umbrella protection to lots of European countries that are asking for help. And we've seen Poland and Lithuania and most recently Norway saying, we want to be a part of this French-led nuclear umbrella. Now, France has about 550 nuclear warheads that we're aware of, whereas the US and Russia each have about 5,000 or so, respectively. You don't need 5,000, right? I mean, 5 to 10 will probably do the trick for total global annihilation. France has 500 of them. And so France has this arrangement right now, kind of mosaic, decentralized style with other allies in their nuclear umbrella. It's almost a shadow NATO, Article 5, if you will, at a nuclear level. Think about that. That's what's really going on. They don't want to call it that, but it's an Article 5 shadow nuclear arrangement between France and the UK, and Lithuania and Poland and now Norway, who are joining this. And Macron's like, this is the new reality with everything that Donald Trump has done. Unfortunately, or fortunately, this is where we're at.
Ever wake up sweaty, freezing, or just uncomfortable? The temperature in your bedroom can make or break your sleep. That's why I switched to Miracle Made sheets. They're inspired by NASA technology and use silver-infused temperature-regulating fabric to help you sleep perfectly all night long. Here's the thing, thanks to their antibacterial silver technology, Miracle Made sheets stay cleaner and fresher up to 3 times longer than regular sheets. That means fewer odors, fewer wash cycles, and way less laundry. All that hidden bacteria in regular sheets, it can clog your pores and cause breakouts. Miracle Made's antibacterial design helps you sleep cleaner and clearer night after night. And they feel just as good, if not better, than sheets you'd find at a 5-star hotel, but without that steep price tag. Smooth, breathable, and ridiculously comfortable. Miracle Made sheets are crafted with NASA-inspired silver-infused fabric that helps regulate your body temperature. Hot sleeper, cold sleeper, it doesn't matter. These sheets help keep you in the comfort zone all night long. Upgrade your sleep or give the gift of better rest. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas to try Miracle Made sheets today. You'll save over 40%, and when you use promo code Meidas, you'll get an extra 20% off plus a free 3-piece towel set. They make an amazing gift, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. That's trymiracle.com/Meidas, code Meidas at checkout. Thanks to Miracle Made for sponsoring this episode.
I mean, right when you had Jeff Landry, Donald Trump's envoy to Greenland, harassing Greenland again, what happens? France, which has that nuclear umbrella, immediately goes into Greenland. They send their foreign ministry, enter into stronger defense alliances with Greenland. Same thing with Canada. Canada ensuring that it has a very strong embassy presence as well. France also then joining a joint German-UK program to develop long-range missiles as Europe moves to strengthen its independent long-range missile capabilities away from the United States. You know, all of this is happening all at once. And again, I know this may not be like a sexy thing to cover, if you will. Like, it's not, oh, Golden Ballroom, we're going to cover all that. We need to understand what's going on throughout the world. I mean, also Ukraine, which Donald Trump always trashes Ukraine and Trump's taking Putin's side. Ukraine has developed cutting edge drone technology, drone interceptors, unmanned submersive drones, detection technology in order to detect incoming drone swarms. And the Middle East nations get it. The Middle East nations that used to rely on the United States security umbrella, they've made these alliances with Ukraine. But guess who they've also made alliances with? China as well. And China is really filling the gap as the United States security umbrella has been, if you want to use the word obliterated by Donald Trump in the Middle East. Cooperation between Ukraine, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Jordan, Bahrain, and Kuwait are already taking place. And they realize the necessity of getting that technology. Whereas for the U.S. is now saying, okay, we need to lean heavily into drone technology. But you know what they're doing, right? Don Jr. has made these deals with different drone companies, some that are not all that well known, And a lot of these drone companies involving Don Jr., they're getting a lot of the big defense contracts right now, and they're the ones who are thriving. And it seems very, 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 I think corrupt would be putting it lightly in my opinion. Now, you also need to recognize that Iran has demonstrated these incredible defensive capabilities. Sure, Trump can say, they are obliterated, they don't exist. Did you notice on Saturday he changed his tune when he finally surfaced after going missing for 72 hours? Trump gave that interview with Lara Trump, his daughter-in-law, very bizarre setup right there. And Trump said, you know what, the reason we didn't destroy the Iranian army is we wanted to negotiate with them. We wanted to. They're very good people to negotiate with. It's like, what? What are you talking? They're very moderate people. They're very moderate people. What in the world are you talking about? But as Patricia Marins explains, what it means that the Iranian military has been able to shoot down MQ-9 Reaper after MQ-9 Reaper, it means that the Iranian defense industry is positioning itself as a reliable source of modern, effective anti-drone systems, including those capable of engaging targets at medium altitude. And so Iran systems, I saw Iran systems at a lot of these military parades recently as well, because they're very effective in shooting down these MQ-9 Reapers. And, all these other countries are working together also. Like, remember that F-15E Strike Eagle fighter that was purportedly shot down over the southwest Iran last month? All the intelligence now suggests it was shot down by a Chinese-made shoulder-launched missile, sometimes referred to as a manpad. China may have also provided Iran with a YLC-8B long-range early warning radar capable of detecting stealth aircraft early in the conflict. That's according to NBC. And I'll leave you with this. Amir Hanjani explains, how will Gulf states respond in the aftermath of the Iran war? The response will not be realignment. It will be more disciplined, more conditional, and more self-interested foreign policy from governments that have learned at a considerable cost that no external power can fully substitute for their own strategic judgment. In other words, they can't rely on the United States anymore. As Patricia Marins explains, the Iranian military model, which is based almost entirely on asymmetric warfare, has now sparked a broad debate in the Gulf regarding massive investments in missiles and drones to generate deterrence capabilities. And so you have the Saudis saying, why would we buy billions, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of these big U.S. weaponry when it gets destroyed by asymmetric warfare? And so in the last few months alone, approximately $11 billion in contracts were signed with non-American partners in the missile sector. Saudi Arabia is purchasing Chinese missiles and also producing its own versions, and also utilizing a model of underground fortresses very similar to what the Iranians do. The United Arab Emirates are already producing precision-guided missiles based on South African technology and attack drones, which was based on Chinese technology. And so you have all of that taking place right now. And there's very, what you have that. You have Pete Hegseth was at the Shangri-La Singapore event, and he's, out there saying things like, we let ourselves get distracted by the globalists. What are you talking about, man? And how are your words being strategic now with everything I've said? They aren't. Here, play this clip.
For too long, polite pleas from our European allies to spend more on their own defense fell on deaf ears. They're finally playing catch up, and we let ourselves get distracted by empty globalist rhetoric about the rules-based international order, while European capitals threw open their borders and hollowed out their militaries. You can have all the rules you want, and rules are great, but if you can't back them up with hard power, the rules are not worth the paper they are written on. Europe and NATO have some big decisions to make, and more on that soon.
And then he goes on to say, the national defense strategy makes clear that the old, toothless, utopian, and globalist course of foreign policy was headed for a disaster. Here, play this clip.
The national defense strategy makes clear that the old, toothless, utopian, and globalist course of foreign policy was headed for a disaster. That all changes under President Trump.
Really? Because let's see how Kim Jong-un is responding to you right now. North Korea says there will be absolutely and forever no denuclearization. Pyongyang enshrined its nuclear status into law, and it's out there every day right now doing new missile tests. You don't hear anything from the Trump regime about that. They ain't scared of the Trump regime. Iran ain't scared of the Trump regime. China ain't scared of the Trump regime. When Donald Trump was at Shangri-La in Singapore, Hegseth was so obsequious to China. He was so weak on Taiwan. He was so subservient to China. We obviously saw Donald Trump do the same when Trump was with Xi Jinping, and he let Xi Jinping talk about the Thucydides trap and how America's a declining power. Stay out of my way. And Donald Trump, oh, you're so powerful, Xi Jinping. It's incredible how weak Donald Trump was and how every day he withers away at our foreign policy. It's a wild thing. So I'll leave you with this right here, because you have Prime Minister Carney of Canada going into the United States this week, and here's what he said about the trust that Canada has. That's what's important. Trust is the most important currency in international affairs. Trust, certainty, predictability, reliability, delivering, following through. Here, play this clip.
And we're also making progress because our reputation as a reliable, predictable partner has rarely been more valuable in a world where transactions are replacing relationships. We're blessed with many commodities in Canada, but we have earned the most valuable one, which is trust.
There you have it, everybody. Very comprehensive video indeed. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thank you all so much for watching. And I know we covered a lot, but it's really important stuff.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.